I'll be discussing with us what is SQL. So basically, before I go on, I would like you to like this channel, do well to subscribe, and do well to share with others. Yeah. So, what is SQL? In my last video, when I discussed data analysis, especially data analysis using SQL, I actually used Postgres admin, that's Postgres SQL PG admin, to run some queries, and I was showing us how to explore our data. And then a number of persons asked, what is SQL like? Please come get to know what SQL is. So that actually bettered this video. SQL, in this video, I'll be defining SQL, I'll talk about some scenarios that you can use SQL, and then I'll be discussing the categories of SQL language. So quickly, SQL simply means structured query language. SQL is a language for databases. And what I mean by that is database is a collection of data that's organized such that it has a structure that promotes quick retrieval of information. For instance, one may have a business where you have records that are kept for different entities. And these entities may be related to each other in one way or the other. So the best way for you to retrieve these things is to organize them in a logical way. So a database is actually what's provided for such. So if it is a structured business environment, a database administrator will be hired to help organize those records for easy retrieval. So I want to show us a scenario of how we talk about a database. So let's assume it's a school. Let's assume it's a school, and then we have a library, and in this library, we have a lot of books that are not organized. So we would hire a librarian. The librarian would just would come and then sort out the books, arrange them well. So this is where a database administrator comes in. So also, for you to, like I had also mentioned, the business organization where you have all your records already in paper and then you want to move them to a database, you want to create a structure and an organized way of retrieving your data. So you have to create a database, and that's where a database administrator comes in. So what's the essence of SQL? Yeah, if, like I had mentioned here, I have a very raw data, like I have a record for my employees, I have record for my students, I have record for, that's a school for example, I have records for different entities in my business, and I want to have it recorded on a database. So what would happen is, in a situation where we have students as an entity and then we have teachers or class teachers as an entity, all we just need to do is create a table for students, create another table for teacher. While student is an entity, teacher is also an entity. So whatever information we have on them would now be the attributes. So it's as simple as that. Database is just for you to have a set of structured tables that are related. You have to create some relationships via keys. I will talk about that in a later video. You have to have a primary key, foreign key that relates them if you have to join your table. So far, to retrieve data from this database that we've now created, there will be a need for your SQL queries. There will be a need for you to write. So if you are not trained, that's when you might now need the help of the librarian at used as the initial illustration. So in this case, you'll be needing the database administrator who is skilled with writing SQL queries, and then is one that would now access your database. Remember, you've moved from this stage where you were having just paper records and having to have them in files to a database that's structured. So at this point, your information, your data is already structured. So at this point, you will need to now query. So how do you query a database? So this is what leads us to the categories. There are those languages in SQL, we call them commands, that define structure. Some of them modify structure. There are those that maintain the consistency, and then those that permit, and the ones that actually query. Actually, the one that queries, yeah. I have a reason for saying that. So the categories basically include DDL, DDM, DML rather, DTL, DCL, and DQL. What does DDL mean? That's data definition language. DML is data manipulation language. DTL is data transaction language. DCL is data control language, and DQL is data query language. Yeah, so what's DDL? DDL is what I just said, data definition language. It defines the data structure. It tells us, okay, we have a table called student, we have a table called teacher, and then are we going to give this, are we going to number it according to student ID? Are we going to distribute them in this structure? Would they have, what kind of values would we use into this data? Would it be an integer? Would it be a string? All of those things, we define them with the data definition language. And how would we write them? We write them using the create statement, we write them using the auto statement, the drop, and the truncate. So this one defines the structure of the database and tells us how the database would look like. So the data manipulation language, this one affects the database. It could be positive, it could be negative. Negative in the sense that you delete and you won't have access to it, except if you, I'll talk about that. You have to now control your transactions on the database. So it also affects positively where you now have to insert, populate your table. You have a new student, you have to update your table and all of that. Or a student has graduated from the school, you have to now delete the student's record. Or maybe their data you've already backed up already to the cloud and you want to reduce the number of data you have in your scheme, in your data warehouse. You back up to the cloud and then you use the update, insert, and delete. So this one is basically what makes changes to the information stored in the database. Yeah, DCL, data control language. This one is used for security, permission, and to control users logged into a database. For example, I have a database and I want to share some information with a colleague so we can work on it together. So I can actually give this person access to the database and then we can work on it together. So data control language is what we use for this. Pardon me, I actually didn't include what we use to control them. It's basically the grant and the revoke. Pardon me, I didn't add that to this slide. So we use the grant and then the revoke statement to actually control our data. Then we have the data transaction language. This one controls and maintains consistency in our database. That's what I mean by DB. It manages the changes made to a database. For example, the examples of data transaction language include commit, save point, rollback. Now, what this means is, for example, I had deleted something from my database and I was still working on the session. I've not turned off the PC. And I remember that, I wasn't supposed to delete it. So this is what actually manages it. With the data transaction language, I am able to now, recover, just like you're having to recover something from a recycle bin. Yeah. So this one helps to manage your data, the changes and the transactions you make to your database. Yeah, so this one is DQL, data query language. Yeah, this retrieves data from the database. It's used to access whatever has been stored in the database. And mind you, when you hear data query language, it is actually the one I said, it is one of those query languages. It's very popular. It's actually the select statement. So if you're writing any SQL language, the first thing you have to write is, when I mean writing any SQL language, the first language you use to query a database is the select statement. So in a later video, I would actually be talking about these things in details. I'll talk about the data definition language. I will show us from my Postgre or I use my MS SQL. So I'll give us a demo of it. Thank you for seeing this video with me. Yeah, it was really nice having to share this with you. See you.